Brother Michael, you have been on an amazing journey lately of initiation into masculinity, and the teacher that you've been working with, or coach, teacher, whatever you want to say, is not a male. It's a female teacher, which is interesting to me because I know a lot of the guys diving deep into men's work these days, which is all the rage. It seems very common, very popular right now. But you have chose to work with a female and an absolute powerhouse of a female. Yeah, curious to see how that journey's going for you. Why you chose to work with Chantelle. I think we can just speak openly into just mentioning Chantelle's name and the work she does, and giving her a good shout out. She was one of my amazing teachers back in the day. And I look forward to having her as a teacher again one day. It's just profound work she does. So curious to hear about your journey. Maybe we can start by asking why you chose Chantelle, and maybe if the female practitioner even comes into it compared to working with a man with, say, men's work and these sorts of things.
That's a great question. I didn't give it a lot of weight until you've actually brought it up. And I chose Chantelle predominantly through your recommendation from the work you did. So for those that are listening, it's Chantelle Raven of Embodied Awakening Academy, and we've both worked with her. We've both done several bits of work with her in bits and pieces. I think the conversations we had one day was just the work that you did with her is all the most contributing factor as to who you are today.
Absolutely. And I think I said a complete reprogramming of who I thought I was.
Yep. And I had no idea what I was really getting into with this. I just knew I needed to work with her. It was one of those heart pulls.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why. I didn't initially look at it as a masculine thing to do. It was an initiation for men, yes, but I didn't see it that way. All I saw, I think, was the experiences that you shared, traits in you that I deeply admire, that I believe, having gone through the experience, were birthed in that container. There was a real pull. When I first met her, I said, we were at a 3-day workshop, and she said, "So, all right, we're going to go around the circle and just tell us who your name, where you're from, who you are, and why are you here." And I said my name. I said, "Michael from the Gold Coast, and my brother Jay worked with you, and I'm going to be working with you next."
I love that. Just taking the plunge, man. I love that about you too, man. Just diving in deep, taking the plunge, putting your entire heart and soul into something that you have really no idea about what you're getting into, but you can just feel that pull. And I think I love that quality about you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, brother. Yeah, I dove in, and we had our first session. I had no idea what. I tried to sort of empty my mind of all expectations, and I did have one preconceived idea that I was going to learn a lot. I thought I was going to learn educational or intellectually, and there's been none of that. It's all about embodiment. And that was quite discombobulating because my little egoic self, left brain thinking, wanted tools and tricks and knowledge. And she kicked my ass the first 2 weeks into embodiment. And yeah, it's interesting that you ask, was why a woman for a masculine container? And, I've worked with a lot of men, and as coaches and as a coach, but that's really interesting because before my men's work, that I got into men's work, I felt more comfortable working with women because of my father wound, and didn't realize that when I signed up with Chantelle. But Chantelle's also got a very strong masculine, and she's learnt to balance that out, and she ebbs and flows, but when she needs to, she can really step in. And surprisingly, through her, I've witnessed or heard, or we've role played the healthy masculine, and I've experienced it live in our calls, in our catch ups, and it's been mind blowing. Like some things, I'm like, I've never seen this model. No one's ever shown me this model from a man, because I believe, yes, there's a lot of men's coaches out there, but they're little boys running around in a big body talking about masculinity. There's a lot of young. Chantelle's been doing this for 25 years. There's a lot of deep teaching. She's got a corporate background, which I deeply align with. She was a lawyer at one point. Very left brain thinking, very much in a masculine back then. But a lot of the coaches these days are, they're either adopting shadow work kind of men's work. They're lots of rah-rah, lots of beating people down, lots of berating them with military style tactics and calling them names under the sun to make them break. And that's all shadow work. That's actually a shadow version of men's work. And Chantelle comes from that, yes, tantric space. And I think Tantra gets a it's misrepresented by some parts of the tantric community. Tantra is a way of life. It's a philosophy. It's a way of being. Beautifully, it's a way of being. And a lot of people think it's a cult, or some people think it's all about sex. And I've been working with Chantelle now for nearly 3-4 months. We haven't mentioned sex once. It's not in it. Like, it's a part of the practice, and there are practices specifically for that. But this is about coming to myself and finding out, all of my shit, and then working through those and healing those. And so there's an element of shadow work that's involved with it as well, dovetailed in with some tantric practices, which is breath and sound. But one of the greatest experiences I've had is being held by the feminine in such a beautiful, nourishing way as well. And this is the beauty of having a master of both. She can master the masculine and master the feminine. When she needs to punch me in the face, she can punch with the best of them. I remember one of our sessions, she really went for me, and I'm like, yep, keep going, I got it. It was solid, and I'm here for it, and I'm edgy, and I'm nervous, and oh yeah, you've got me, but I'm not backing down. Go for it. Go for this. This is what I'm here for. And then there's other times I've never been held so beautifully, so nourishing, so caring. And some of her voicemails that, we might voicemail in our container backwards and forwards, and God, she's reparenting me basically. That's probably one of the key roles, whether that be from the masculine or the feminine. It's really beautiful to be held by the feminine in this way. And what that's giving me is a whole brand new perspective on, well, what relationship do I desire to have now? I've gone out with a lot of guys with boobs, dated a lot of women who had a very strong masculine presence, and we would clash. And now that I've got this experience of how strong the feminine is in their softness and in their suppleness and in their nourishing, that this is where both get to surrender. So yeah, it's been such a surprise to do this level of masculine work, and she's developing my divine masculine. That's what's really come through this container. I think I shared with you one of our chats that, and as a byproduct of that, my dark masculine, which I was shunning and shaming and trying to be all light and love, is now coming online more and more and more in a really healthy way.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow. So do you think that, you just said something before about the pull to work with Chantelle and how it's different to working with men with what you've experienced. And is there any advice or things that people should look out for that you think, like if there's a man looking to dive more deeply into a container, into doing men's work, to work with a man as opposed to working with a woman? Or I don't even know if working with a man or a woman is the right question, because when I think of Chantelle, I think, I guess I put her on a bit of a pedestal, that, she's a bit of a weapon in this, this genre of healing modalities and what we're talking about. What would you advise for a man looking to step into these containers? Do you recommend starting with a certain, what are the warning signs? What would you look out for? Can you give me some advice on that?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I've seen this with some people that I speak to in the coaching client space. They're looking for coaches, or they're with coaches, and this is some of the feedback that I've received from them about the space, is that there's some great marketing out there and there's a big attraction, but when they arrive, it's not what was being offered, and the level of embodiment sounds great but is lacking. So like Chantelle, I went to a 3-day workshop and I really got to experience her before I committed to this big program. Maybe just listen to your intuition, tune into your heart. Like Chantelle, I had a pull that was undeniable. It wasn't when I was going to work with her or if I was going to work with her. It was, I'm going to work with her and I will make it happen. And I had to really, I committed to it, and I had no idea how I was going to make it happen because it was a big investment. And I'm like, but I'm just saying yes and I'll make it happen. And that was where the magic lies. But I think I had personal experience as well. So I had the workshop myself, I had I had 3 other people that have gone through programs with her. And then there was a social media community that all of these people that I was in the space with, that I really respect, had also worked with her and continue to work with her 5 to 10 years later.
Yeah.
So it gave me a lot of confidence to just go for it. And I think you can't beat that personal recommendation.
Absolutely. And I love that advice to just maybe dive a little bit deeper into connecting with that person that you're thinking about working with beyond the definitions of it's a man or it's a woman or they do this or don't do that. Because these days more than ever, what you see on the social media ads and things can be a really bright and shiny representation of something that is quite different to what you get when you get there. I don't know, I always really love to connect with the person. I think that's a great bit of advice if you can, like if they're even accessible in that way to connect with, or dive a bit deeper on their content, or maybe you can access one of their books or something to see what they're about. But those things can be great shining lights, but definitely word of mouth is huge as well.
Yeah, you can't beat that hands-on experience. I think with Chantelle, I had multiple opportunities to be in front of her. So there was, I paid for one-on-one sessions as well previously in a relationship experience, in my own personal experience. I think I had 3 one-on-one sessions, which is about $2,000 or more, a bit more. Anyway, whatever it is, to deepen my experience and say, is this the place for me? And even though I was already sold on it, and they were stepping stones, but yeah, I think what you just said is perfect. Consume as much of their content and be so know that they've got that piece that you're looking for.
Yeah.
That you believe is it's already in you, but you can't see it yet. So you're seeing it in them and you're idolizing it, or you're, pedestaling it in a way. All they're going to do is reflect it back to you that's already in you, but at least you can see it in them and they can model it. And if they don't have it, and if they're not congruent, and if they're not walking the walk, I mean, I listened to Chantelle's podcast every day for months. I joined up to 4 courses before doing, and this was all in the lead up to me actually signing up. So, and every time I went and got positive, yep, I'm applying that and I'm seeing it real time in my life. It works. And so you do your research, you spend your time. I think if you just buy the first shiny toy that comes along, that could be the mistake.
Yeah, we've all done that before. Mate, your journey, you said it's not what you expected in some ways, and you were, maybe your masculine edge was expecting more of a, textbook style system that you could follow and implement. You said it hasn't been that. If you were going to summarize the journey that you've been on, how long has it been, this journey with Chantelle, of this recent one-on-one work, and how would you summarize the journey so far, and how long do you have left as well?
So I started on the 21st of November and it's the 20th of February now. So that's been going, we catch up every 2 weeks. There's been a couple of dates that I haven't been able to make, so it's extended it out a little longer, just based on our timings and whatnot. I got to about a month left, got about a month with her. And a lot of the calls have been, some days I got no idea what we're getting into. And Chantelle's got a very shamanic, intuitive, deeply intuitive. What she can see is ridiculous. She'll just call you on your shit, straight to it, take your throat out, bang. And sometimes it's the things that you can't see, So yeah, it's very live. It's not scripted, as in, yes, there's a path. It's what's alive right now, and that will always present the wound that's currently, needing work. And her most brutal punch, I'll share it. It was just, it was a cascading of events, mate. Honestly, we were in this process, and straight to process, there was hey, how you doing? And we were straight on. And I'm like, okay, no warm up today. No preamble. And at 5 minutes into the process, she said, what age did you find it? What age did you make the decision that love is abusive?
Oh,
and I just reeled back in my chair. I knew it instantly, but I never was conscious to it. And I knew exactly the day, the time, all of the things. And that then set me on 3 months worth of roller coasters and dark nights of the soul, because it just kept all this stuff started coming up about the way I was relating and what I was attracting in. And that was very challenging. It was very difficult. It's probably been one of the most difficult, not to say this is Chantelle's fault or anything like that. It's multiple things that I've done, but she's just keeps opening the door to a deeper level. And spiritually and emotionally, sometimes physically, it's been the hardest 3 months of awakenings and deaths and rebirths that I've probably gone through. Yeah.
That question of how old were you when whatever you put on the end of that sentence is just such a potent question when the container is safe, and especially when the container is safe, but sometimes even when not necessarily that safe. I think of, let's say for an example, a couple having an argument, and the man says to the woman, you shouldn't do that, you should do this, and to have the woman come back and say, yeah, thank you for sharing, and do you mind if I ask, how old were you when you first thought that people should react to that in that way or do what you just shared? To flip that energy back around, and they might not receive it in that moment, but to hold that to hold that space of water in that moment, as opposed to reactive fire back to the person, to be able to hold that sort of question and then hold that space of water while it's received, no matter how that is, to let that person then go and ponder a possible answer to that question, can really be a game changer. And in the realms that we're in and the work that we do, that's something that I ask clients often. And I think I got that from Chantelle, actually, from working with her.
You asked me last week the same question. How long, I think it was, when did you develop the idea or the strategy or you need to take X amount of time to grieve?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I was like instant. It was instant drop me into the first time I created the story. If you're open to it, some people want to resist that, right? I'm very susceptible. You say something, I'm like, oh, I can feel it, and it lands. And that's a learned skill. You're not born with that. You have to learn to be coachable, receptive. Hypnosis is one of those things. Hypnosis is, everyone's susceptible to hypnosis. It's just those not willing to do it, and they're holding onto the reality so much. I learned about that when I did hypnosis back in 1998. Anyway, a long time ago. And you just have to be curious. It's like, well, yeah, I want to hold on to my reality, but what if? And you go, cool. What does Jay just ask? When did I first create the story? I can quite easily go, no, I don't know, or never. What are you talking about? Or I could go, breathe it in, and your body knows the answer. Your body knows. Yeah. Actually, that's what Chantelle's really, really helped me with, getting into my body. Hence the embodiment practice.
Can you give us a example of what that would look like?
Yeah, I'm super dominant intellectually.
Yeah.
So I like to intellectualize everything. So if you came at me with a perspective, I will intellectualize it and I will turn it around and I'll outsmart you, air quotes for those not
which
watching.
Is really common, which is a really common trait for a lot of people. Maybe we would say maybe even more so with men, that intellectual masculine thing. So yeah. How's that working out for you?
Well, up until now, it wasn't working out too well. But dropping into my body, there's no need to, it's about feeling. So if a partner says to me something, as opposed to reacting to it or playing it down or intellectualizing it and overcoming them and making them wrong, I just feel into it. And I'm like, drop into my body, feel where that is in my body.
Such an art form.
And I don't have to say anything at that point. It's just, I'll be aware of how that made me feel. It's nothing to do with what they said. How does what they said make me feel? Yeah. And if it's worthy or it's required, share that. I can share. It's like, yeah, okay, cool. I heard what you're saying. And yeah, that feels heavy for me. Or that feels, yep, that hurt. I can feel hurt there. And in that moment, I get to be, all right, is there anything else that you need to say? Mm-hmm. Because all of the little self wants to do is be seen and be heard. And when I go sit with that little self, it regulates and I don't take it personally anymore. I just see the feeling, not the words that were said.
And how does that make you feel to be able to conversate like that now?
It's dramatically changed every relationship. It's increased my level of groundedness. It's increased my level of presence. Created more safety because my partner / friend, whoever's in front of me, can see me not taking their emotions and making them my own, allowing them to have their reality, allowing them to have their words and their truth. And how does that feel for me? And that's really what the feminine's seeking is. She doesn't need you to spray your words back or pour out your undying love or your tears with emotion. She wants to know that you can feel your emotions or your feelings. She wants to know that you can then handle those or express them at least. And so that has dramatically changed everything for me. It's caused me a lot less stress, a lot less anxiety, a lot less fighting, a lot less being right, which ultimately by me being right is pushing me away from the one thing that I really want, which is connection and love, because I'm creating more and more separation. And so it brings a whole level of ease into my life and into my relating. Yeah.
I love that, brother. Because my next Yeah, my next question was going to be, and how do you think that makes the person that you're having a conversation with feel? You kind of answered that already, but maybe just to shed a bit more light on that too. How do you think it impacts the person on the receiving end of that conversation?
Infinitely better.
By doing nothing, by doing nothing except for doing everything, right?
Yeah, 100%. By doing nothing and everything at the same time. And I think that's exactly what it is. You're in a state of being in that moment.
Yeah.
And so what it allows them to do is not justify their position, not have to defend their version of reality. I'm not diminishing them. Not feel stupid because they now feel dumb because I tried to over intellectualize it and outsmart them. And probably more connected and realize how their words or their reality feels to me. So the one thing I said to Chantelle a week later was like, this makes my life so much easier. There's so much more flow.
100%.
And have I perfected it? No,
the beauty is we never will,
right?
right? That's the journey. We never will perfect that. But the fact that we're working on it and that I think the fact that we've become aware or conscious, whatever you want to say, of that way of being. Again, what did I say at the start? Like this experience with Chantelle, an awareness that, a complete reprogramming of myself, that I could choose to, that I had the power to reprogram myself more authentically. I think I should be, and that's always changing. What I think I should be today is not what I thought I should be yesterday. Definitely wasn't 10 years ago, and so forth and so forth. So that is incredibly empowering information, and to have it brought in that way and to have these awarenesses, like you said, the journey never ends. We'll keep working on this. We're never going to perfect it, but that's the human. We're not AI. Okay. So it's a good thing.
It's been beautiful to see, one, how difficult I was making life previously, with all due love and respect, because I was doing the best I could with what I had, but how much more love and flow can come into my life by simple mechanism of feeling.
Yeah, beautiful, brother. And that question that I asked you last week was something along the lines of how long, or the theme of the question before asking you when was the first time you experienced it was something along the lines of how long is the right amount of time that a human should deal with a separation, like a breakup. Like, is it a year? Is it to recover from that separation? Is it a year? Is it 10 years? Because some people have really specific perceptions, and obviously every situation is different, every relationship's different, but maybe let's save that for a whole nother podcast, because that, my friend, would be an amazing podcast to dive deep into.
That was a great question. I really enjoyed that, along with the difficulties that came with it the next day. But it was a great question. And let's unpack that another time. I was just thinking, obviously we've both worked with Chantelle. What was your greatest takeaway?
I think just that empowering nature, probably the two things that we've kind of just shared. One, that it's me who gets to choose how I represent myself. And the second thing, what you just shared, is that ability to hold space and to feel into my body rather than getting into my mind. I feel that that's something in my journey. It was something I'd always been thrust into. I guess I feel, in the sense that I was a touring musician, sharing my art from my heart to every lyric that I shared on stage, every story that I told, every guitar lick that I played, that I'd practiced with such devotion to playing so perfectly for every listener to then often to be really incredibly positively supported, and the majority of the time, loved up, and then to also be cut down without any on something like, hey man, you're crap at that, you should totally stop doing that, and to those things, to be able to have that space, which I kind of had that before I started working with Chantelle, but she really helped me hone into feeling into the body, to come back with, man, thank you so much for sharing your opinion of me. Do you have a moment, if it's okay for me to ask you, is there anything else that you think about me that I should do or not do? In your opinion of me, I'd love to hear, everything that you think about me and what I should or shouldn't do with my life. Are you open to that? And then they'd usually lose interest and go and buy another beer. But, again, that was quite an unhealthy environment, often at pubs and music venues and stuff like that. But, just that space to be able to, in that moment, when, especially when you're showing your art or your heart or you're in a relationship. I think, another thing that I learned from that time with Chantelle is how we develop those bonds with people that we've spent the most time with. Let me rephrase that. The people that we've spent the most time with in our life have the easiest ability to manipulate our energy, or for us to choose to easily let those people manipulate our energy. For instance, our parents, our brothers and our sisters, our best friends are often the people that we're most triggered by. For instance, if your mum says something like, you're a stupid person, you should go and lock yourself in a room because humanity isn't, whatever, compared to like a complete stranger saying that to you and you being like, yeah, whatever, complete stranger, like, I don't care. But for whatever reason, you obviously choose to validate your mum's opinion of you so much more than the complete stranger because you have stories with them, experiences with them that have led to stories, ego, attachment, things that happened in the past. And to detach all of that, to not get in the mind, to not get into the story, to just detach from that and feel rather than, beyond the story, to get beyond the story, to appreciate the story, simply to presence it. And the potency of that, I feel like, allows us to move in such leaps and bounds in our lives and not waste our time on getting caught up in shit that maybe isn't of the best service to your beautiful self and the people that you love the most.
Yeah, the story keeps you stuck, keeps you right where you are, keeps you looping that pattern. And whereas when you just come back to the feeling of it, feelings are meant to come and go. They're meant to pass through us, and we hold on to them, anchoring them with stories. So when we lose that attachment to it, yeah, she's been a gift, mate, for the both of us. I'm not too sure if you got to experience, I'm sure you did, for such a strong woman. Like, I'm so talking strong. Fierce. It's not strong even. It's beyond strong. It's fierce, frighteningly fierce in an amazing kind of way.
That term warrior of love, which is something that I know you and I both hold dear. I think, she's such a beautiful embodiment of that energy. Just, I am not here to mess around. This is how it's going to go. This is what we're going to do. But I'm here for you. Protect my tribe and, but always speak the truth for the greater good of my tribe beyond my own fear.
Yes, absolutely. That last bit is a potent yes, because she will be the thing that you need to do to elicit the greatest level of change, no matter how uncomfortable it is. And she can hold you in the depth of that and then hold you and nourish you back to, you go through that breakthrough point and then she will nurse you back to integration of that. And that nourishing, I've never experienced. It's got, I don't know, it's speechless. It feels good. It just feels so, like we talk about divine, and then we refer God as being divine, the divine feminine, the divine masculine. It's God-like. And that's exactly what it feels like. Asexual in a way. It's just an energy. It's a nourishing and nurturing energy. And I've never been spoken to in such a, way, caring way, in the depth of my shit. Like I'm crying and I'm nervous, scared, frightened, whatever. And she encourages me to speak into that and then be held in that. And she celebrates it. And you feel good about it. And
how she's able to be there by your side through that journey too is to be cracking the whip and going deeper and deeper and putting you in the ship, but then holding you like so perfectly through it. So it's like, oh, I'm not going to drown. This is lovely. Fuck, this is hard. So yes. Anyway.
Totally. It's great. So it's been an amazing.
I think we should probably give her a shout out. So what's Chantelle's website? Even we'll put a link in the description as well. But what's her? Where can we see her now online?
Yeah, Chantelle Raven is her handle on Instagram from memory, and her website is embodiedawakeningacademy.com.
Great.
And that's the whole academy, and in there you can see whether you want to work with her one-on-one or you want to work with her at the retreat space, or I'm currently doing the practitioner training, so that's another way that you can. It's a 12-month mentorship, so that's a different thing. That's another thing that I'm doing, just to deepen my understanding, and that's more the left brain. She does it with the practitioner training. There's 3 parts to it. There's the intellectual aspect of it. Here's the tools or the knowledge or this is where it comes from. And there's a level of embodiment and integration with that as well. So yeah, she hits you in all 3 ways with that.
Hard, very
gently, and
hard
sometimes it's good.
at the same
Sometimes a
time.
really good slap.
Oh,
It's-
that's beautiful, brother. That's
yeah.
awesome. Man, thank you so much for sharing all that so deeply personal, Mike.
Mm.
Really, that's what this podcast is all about, us taking deep dives into our hearts and sharing what's in the current and following that intuition. So thank you, as always, brother, for being so open, vulnerable, such an incredible attribute that I love about you amongst the other millions of attributes that I deeply love about you. So I look so
Thank you,
forward
brother.
to our
Thank
next
you.
episode, which I think might be number 25 or 26, something like that. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
good on us.
Good on us. And it's a year ahead of us for podcasts. It's going to be a good year, mate.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Mm.
Thanks, guys, for listening, and we shall see you all next